It'll happen in session. They're organic. Okay. Welcome everyone to our Thursday night D&D session, where we follow this intrepid group of adventurers as they attempt to save the world. Their recent endeavors have placed them in the city-state of Stormhaven, where they have recently foiled an assassination plot, as well as a plot to murder everyone in the city, in order for them to serve as a sacrifice to birth two liches. Luckily, they were able to foil both those dastardly plans, and are now currently enjoying a little bit of downtime before they venture forth to the next city-state. Would anyone like to, that's a sort of brief overview, would anyone like to give a more in-depth recap of last week's session in particular? Or last time session?
We found some informative books on a few different subjects that were concerning to us in this vile little alcove underneath the city. We made our way through the mysterious door after we solved the puzzle, and we discovered a little chamber wherein the sort of spell was cast to contain the city. Presumably, also some other horrid things that would have gone off had we not intervened. And the resting place of our fine paladin friends' parents, who turned out to be not so nice, wanted to bring themselves to some sort of lichdom of a sort. And in the fight to take care of them, we had to fight a few shades as well as a zombie beholder. We kind of looted the room really quick, and I believe the room is being like scourged, completely purified, as it were.
Yeah, he killed everything with fire.
He sure did, didn't he? And then we left.
Yep, that sounds about right. You guys did find a number of sweet items in that secret underground laboratory, study, what have you. For those, if you don't remember, it was about 440 gold per person. Excuse me. 3 potions of healing, spell scrolls of false life, ray of sickness, gentle repose, ray of enfeeblement, and animate dead. And you also agreed to become emissaries of Stormhaven and sort of recruit other city-states to the cause of defeating the antagonists, Norath, and their new fangled weapons. We lost someone on it. But yes, so with that comes a sort of you get a mithril item to sort of denote your status, and you are about to be led to the Dwarven forges, or their enclave, by the NPC Alaric. Did I miss anything?
I think, yeah. You said 440 per person?
Yes. So you got there was 200 gold in the basement area you found, so which will split 5 ways is 40. But also gaining emissary status, you gained another purse full of gold. This one having enough 2,000 gold. I don't know. It's enough for 400 gold each. So 440 total. Just throwing a nice bit of gold at you. This you will not get this much money later on. Let's start this Stormhaven is
Okay.
rich, and you are being compensated well for your endeavors. So just I want to save some for a rainy day. Just throwing that out there. Okay. Anyway, we're proceeding with the game. I believe you are actually in the process of like leaving Castle Dauntless and going to the Dwarven Enclave. Is that correct?
So we're like we're given a task. We have accomplished something.
Yeah. So currently, right now, you have become emissaries of Stormhaven, but as far as like the finer details haven't been given to you yet. But you are currently in the process of getting a symbol of your status, the mithril item.
Could I possibly take a little visit to our I believe he's a gnomish spell vendor friend?
Yes, you could as well. There's a morning, so there's plenty of time. Um, they're located in around the same way, but before you guys head off into sort of the trade ward, as it were, of Stormhaven, Alaric does say to you that he needs to go to the Temple of the Aspect in the One and conduct his morning prayers, as he has not yet had the opportunity to do so. And he was wondering if you would. He's not going to force anyone to do anything they don't want to, but that's where he's going right now. And then afterwards, he is going to sort of catch up to you if there are things you want to do, or if you want to wait, you can for him, or if you want to go in there and pray yourself, you also can. But after his prayers, he will show you the way to the Dwarven Enclave.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't prayed in a while, but I guess a new resplendent job like this is a good time as any to make sure the aspects are watching our backs.
Yes. Last time we I communed. Well, terrible apocalyptic vision. So maybe being in touch would be in our best interest.
Agreed.
I don't know. I never felt like the gods particularly spoke to me. Oh, I'm sorry, the aspects.
Well, Alaric does say to you, Tara, when you mentioned that, he says, well, the temple has been cleaned and newly reconsecrated. And if ever an aspect was going to speak to you, it would most likely be at the Temple of the Aspects and the One, as this is.
Yes, maybe I'll get a nice pat on the head. A proverbial divine pat on the head.
It's like, well, if you are so blessed, you might receive a boon. But it leads you to up to the temple ward, and you reach the Grand Temple, and it's quite familiar to you. When entering it, you once like Alaric said, you don't see any evidence of blood stains or decomposing putrid bodies. Those have seemed to all have been removed. And general service has sort of started once again. There are some petitioners here, along with clergy, who are helping them conduct prayers or listening to their requests. Some people are in the process of tithing. Some are gathered around the various statues that represent the aspects and are praying or kneeling in front of them and praying them. Some are just reaching out and touching like the foot of one. But Alaric walks up to one that's like an imperious looking human woman, and she has like a flaming sword drawn and a shield, and she has wings behind her that are like on fire, if that makes sense. And he's going up to that one, and he is praying in front of it.
I'll approach. I'll search around for the statue of a figure with the unblinking eye.
Yeah, so for you, if you're looking for Magisa, that the sort of aspect of knowledge and magic, she's there too. She has a spell book in one hand, and it's open, and there's sort of like around her other hand, it's sort of like a crackling of lightning or some similar magic. She's wearing long flowing robes and glasses, and the spell book is like mid-page turn, as it were.
Anand is going to be looking for Solar.
All right, you see a woman that sort of they set up a sort of stained glass behind her so that she is always like there's light that illuminates all of these statues. They're sort of in front of stained glass, but the one behind this one is maybe particularly see-through or transparent, because it's just that whole alcove is just bathed in sunlight, and the way the statue's positioned, it's like a silhouetted in the sundown, but it's very clearly like reaching down, almost in like a helpful gesture to whoever is below it. So whereas the other ones, the people could only really touch the feet of the statues, this one they can actually touch the palm. And you can see that the palm is like almost worn smooth, and there are people that have touched it.
Yes, she will go over and touch the palm of the statue and pray, specifically asking why she's been given these visions. What are they meant to?
All right. So on it, because you specifically asked or have a specific prayer in mind, you don't hear an answer to your question right away. There's a sort of a brief pause, and then you hear a very like booming, deep voice in your head. Definitely not feminine. Definitely not someone you would associate with an aspect. If she was in fact speaking to you, rather it's a masculine voice, and it says, answers will be revealed at Solara's shrine at the crown of the world.
Does that mean anything to her? The crown of the world?
The crown of the world is the tallest mountain on the continent, and it's located in the Dragon Teeth Mountains, which are which is the mountain range that Stormhaven is sort of nestled up against.
Polytheism is pretty common in this world, right? That's what I recall reading somewhere.
Yes. So everyone just a brief overview. Everyone believes in Arya in that, or pretty much everyone believes in Arya in that she created the world and she split herself into several aspects. So everyone greatly respects Arya, but she's like not doesn't really have power anymore. So they pray to one or more of her aspects. For instance, Stormhaven's major deities are Mira, which is like civilization, Solara, Tiris, Solara being the sun, Tiris being like military, bravery in combat, martial prowess, that thing. Tove, which is like mining, coin, sort of riches of the earth, and Nyrisi, which is like storm and water. Storm is in the sea and bodies of water, rain, that sort of thing. Weather, essentially.
There's also a statue to Arya here as well, right?
There is, and it was where Anna, now Princess Anastasia, now Queen Anastasia Hess, prayed, and she does not have a statue that is personified. It doesn't look like rather it's a sphere of mithril that sort of seems to be impossibly floating in midair. But it's at the far end, it's the very far end of this temple. The aspects, the statues of the aspects are sort of set into these alcoves at the sides of the temple. So I think there's a picture I still haven't. Let me go back. This is back in the fight when all this stuff happens. So basically, this is where that sphere is, and then there are more than 4 pillars, but there are numerous pillars like lining or acting as supports along the temple. There is a main pathway here where all your those corpses were. These things here are the statues. They're sort of set in into the sides there.
Well, I guess Tara, the first way she does it, I imagine the way she would do a prayer is a little unusual compared to how people from Stormhaven or humans might do it. In that, I don't know, there's just like differences in the ritual, and her prayers seem to be in Elven. And they seem to be recalled from memory for her. And she stops along the way of several of the statues, but ends again at the statue of Arya when she's praying. But it seems like she definitely picked and chose some of the deity or aspects rather than the others.
Okay. And is there anything particular you're praying about, or is it just like generally asking for like blessings or guidance or something like that?
For the most part, she's just giving reverence in, I suppose, the right words or prayers to each of the individual ones. Here's the list in case anybody's curious.
Okay, so I'm gonna say you start at Arya in the back because she is the progenitor, and then you go to all of these ones while praying, and you stop at Tiris, and you see Alaric there, but he's sort of lost in player as well. And as you sort of finish your prayer in front of Tiris, you can almost swear that the aspect that makes sense is looking at you, the statue of the aspect. And when you sort of meet its gaze, you get this vision of you fighting on a battlefield. And there are hundreds of people next to you, thousands even. And you're fighting just put plain and simply monsters. And it's all manner of creatures, some that you can recognize, some that you absolutely have no idea what they are, some you've only seen or read about in books, some have been described to you by your trainers at the blade dancing school, but they're very clearly creatures of the enemy. And you are engaged in this battle, and it seems to go on for forever. And then there is sort of a and then there's sort of a flash of light, and you return to your senses, and you feel a bit different after that, and you think that Tyrus has indeed perhaps blessed you with a boon. More on that later. On it, even though the booming voice did say further answers, or your answers to your questions will be provided at Solaris Shrine at the Crown of the World, you also feel this sort of just a gentle warmth run throughout your body, and you do feel a blessing as well, or you think you feel a blessing as well. For yours, Tari, it feels like a lightness to your movements. You feel even more sure of yourself, and your sort of sense of self and your awareness of everything that's going on around you, you feel like has maybe improved a little bit. Is there anyone else that wants to do specific prayer or aspect they want to speak to? I know Alistair is in front of Magisa. So you get a strange sense, Alistair, of deja vu, where you see a person who looks very much like you, but maybe a younger version of you.
So thin back.
Engaged in some sort of... Well, this can't be right, because they're talking to something that's very clearly a fiend.
Oh.
And they seem to be entering into some sort of deal with them.
Oh.
Which can't be right, because no sane person, no upstanding member of society would rightfully engage with the enemy. But it seems you can't make out what they're saying. Even if you could read lips, it's sort of like blurred. But it's very clear, like you very clearly see a contract being signed between you and this fiend. And you can just feel the malevolence sort of pouring out of this entity, and you get a general sense of foreboding. And then you see yourself engaging in magical experiments. Your younger self engaging in magical experiments, and then something goes wrong in one of them, and there's that flash of light, and you return to your senses.
Oh.
You're not sure what that was exactly. Whether it was a dream, you from a different reality, maybe a fragment of a memory that you suppressed or forgot. But whatever happened, you seem like witnessing those magical experiences again. You seem to have recalled something from your past and remember a few more things about magic. Slizik, let's see. Since he's not here, but I'm just going to say what his is. He goes up to Narisi, and very uncharacteristic, he is somewhat contrite, and prays. He sees a vision of one black coin. It appears to be like a gold coin, but someone has either painted it black or dyed it black, or maybe rubbed off all the gold plating. But he sees that, and it's dropping into a chest full of similarly stained coins. But when that dropped coin falls into that chest, they all regain their golden luster, and then that chest closes, and then he sees it sort of sink into a body of water, probably the sea, because it gets very, very dark, and then it sort of disappears from view. And then when it goes completely black, he wakes up. Aja, did you want to pray? I guess not.
Right.
Or is she muted? Or not here?
Oh.
She is not here.
Oh.
Welcome back.
Sorry. What did you say?
I asked if you would like to pray.
Not to these gods.
Oh, ho, ho.
Whenever they talk to me, they mostly just yell at me, and they're not very coherent.
All right. There is a god of alcohol and like harvest. I mean, you could pray for a better stomach for alcohol. I don't know. You don't have to. Let's see. That would be Lysandra. Agriculture, livestock, cooking, home and hearth, food and wine.
What the one about festivals and joy?
There is one that's joy. Where is it? Lyria. She's not exactly festivals, but it's like art, poetry, music, song, dance, things that inspire the feels, and with that is joy. All right, so all of you, let's see. Now I will reveal, which is somewhere under miscellaneous. You see aspect boons, making that showable to or viewable by everyone. But basically, things you should know, Magisa. For you, Alistair, you have learned one cantrip and one spell from any class's spell list. It becomes a wizard spell for you. It does not count against the number of spells you can know or prepare. The spell must be at a level you can currently cast. Each time you level, you can choose to forget the spell and learn another. The maximum level of spell you can learn through this boon is the 5th level.
Oh. What is that? Does that mean I could so?
You just have that now.
If I can, when I level up, I can learn a 3rd level spell.
Once you reach level 5, you can learn a 3rd level spell. So it must be of a level you can currently cast.
Oh shit! But I could trade that out.
Yeah. Every time you level up, it can be a different spell. It is always a wizard spell for you. It is always prepared for you, and it can be from any class's spell list.
Okay.
It's a spell and a cantrip.
Right.
Solara. On it, you get an ability called Cleansing Hand. You can use your action to end or remove one disease, poison, or spell effect that is affecting you or a creature you touch. You can only end a spell's effect if it is of a level you can currently cast up to the 5th level. So, for example, if someone used blindness and deafness on someone right now, a 2nd level spell, you could end that effect on someone. Once you use this ability, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Tiris. Tara, you gain a fighting style from the fighters' like list of fighting styles. Anyone you want. Increase AC or damage, that sort of thing. I think that's everyone. Slizik hasn't decided what he wants yet. But you guys feel sort of reinvigorated after after your prayers, and you finish up around the same time that Alaric does as well. And he sort of sees you all sort of have this group with a sort of look towards each other with like a momentary sense of bewilderment, maybe a little bit of awe thrown in there. He says, I see you too are blessed by the aspects.
I suppose you can call it that. It was a lot of things. A lot of things indeed.
Yes, it was.
I learned a bit about my predicament. Bit more than I thought I would know about myself. I'll say a lot of questions were answered and many more were introduced.
Alaric will smile at that and nod and say that's generally the case when you receive a vision from an aspect. They think or communicate in ways we often don't understand.
Indeed. What about the rest of you?
Well, I learned where we need to go to find out what's happening to all of us.
Okay, that's quite good.
It will be something of a journey, I expect. Atop the highest mountain in the realm are temples, and in the Temple of Solara, we will be able to learn what our purpose is, why we're having these visions and such.
Oh, well, be quite quite useful.
So which one of the aspects do you think was giving me those freaky visions?
If you're saying this in character, I think even you yourself aren't sure. It could be any number of ones. You could just take a stab at it, or you could also talk to the party, explain what exactly you've been seeing, and they and you can probably make a religion check to see who would most likely be responsible for that.
So when we first started as a party together, I was having that freaky vision after we saw some of those aberrant creatures.
Go on.
Don't you remember when I was screaming out in that field, just completely freaked out?
Right, but did this impart anything on you?
It just, things to come, I guess. Just horrible things.
Horrible. What?
All right, make a. She's being pretty vague. Probably because she herself doesn't understand. But if anyone would like to, they can make a history check to sort of maybe narrow down. Or sorry, not history, religion, but I think it's the same bonus for you. My apologies.
Okay, do it again.
I'll just take the first. I'm assuming it's a +8 too, because you got all
Yeah.
that stuff as a lore wizard. Yeah, so you're fairly sure she's been very vague. She hasn't claimed to worship or follow a particular aspect. So it is strange that she would receive visions of things that have occurred and things that might not yet have come to pass, or might come to pass if nothing is done. And you think that these visions of foresight might be related to time, and with that, the aspect of Rhea is in control or oversees time itself, along with history.
Did you perhaps get a glimpse of this of the individual giving you this vision? I it seems as if this has the markings of Rhea, the aspect of history, and given that this may have happened in the past or future, words it can be a little unclear. But given that these things, so far we've only received visions of things to come. That seems to be pretty indicative of what was trying to be imparted.
So I received these initial visions years ago when I was going to school in Odessa, and I was told time and time again by my preceptors that I was making something out of nothing, that these were basically conspiracy theories in my head. And eventually, for that, I was kicked out of my school. But I couldn't tell you where they were originating from. I could only imagine that these were visions of the future.
Speaking as a former teacher, we're full of shit. It's best not to take any of that to heart. Often we make the wrong decisions. But at least we have a better idea of where we're meant to be now. So, so far we have a vision of the largest mountain in the land. Presumably we're meant to climb. And also, if I'm to go off of, there's more hardship in fighting. A great battle ahead of us as well. Alright, so are there any, other priests around?
Yes, they are, but they all seem preoccupied. You came here with the air of purpose around you. So generally speaking, they do greet practitioners who come, but they sort of left you alone because you seem to be people with a plan, as it were. You knew what you were here for, what you were doing, so they didn't really bother you that much.
I wanted. Is Alaric, is he in on the conversation, or is he?
Yeah, I'm assuming he's here with you guys. He's sort of listening to everything you guys have said.
Oh, well.
But he hasn't responded or made any comments about it, other than stating that based on your looks, he has assumed that you've received vision. and have been blessed by your respective aspect.
Excuse, I just feel that there just may be more. Allow me just to pray for, and I'll pretend to pray over by the statue, turn my back and everything, kind of hunch toward the ground, on one knee, and I'll cast message to basically everyone, like in turn. Relate. I received a vision of what I did. Led me to the state of sort of amnesia of my past life and the forgetting of everyone I once loved and their forgetting of me. I believe I may have signed some sort of a pact with a devil of sorts. Just terribly, terribly unlike me, and my foresight and wisdom should preclude me from that sort of thing. But there was some horrible accident when I was experimenting with some sort of magics, as I do, and that's what I've got. That's what I've received from the vision imparted. Once I've sort of like given that to everyone, would I need to do a sneaky check or?
No, you can speak subtle voice. As long as you're going to pray, Alaric's not like, he's not super, he trusts you guys. He's not like, oh, they're conspiring or anything, so he has no reason to distrust you. So if you say you're going to go pray and you go through the motions and your back's turned, he's assuming you're praying further.
And anyone who wants to give like a short kind of retort to that and not be heard can do it through the message spell.
Aja is just gonna retort, "Devil kick ass."
That is not the response you're expecting. But yeah, how message works, or how I'm saying message works, is you still have to mouth the words, but you don't have them really. You can just like essentially barely make a sound or no sound, and you can still cast message. But you have to mouth the words still. If that makes sense.
All right.
At least
Anybody
I
else?
think so.
Ready? But
Amen just kind of looks a little quizzical, and her response is, "What would you stand to gain from such a thing?" Not that she has any experience about making pacts with things or anything.
all right, and so I don't get anything, Tara.
Yeah, I think the player is still awake.
Okay.
Okay.
In that case, I'll turn back. Feel a lot better. It's good to be able to pray to a sort of deity of sorts that understands my constant search for knowledge. You know, I'm always trying to push the envelope about what's possible and what we can do and accomplish there. Give like a little quick, little meaningful look.
Well, Eric, well, to you, Alistair, say, well, your aspect is well chosen then. Just keep in mind that there is some knowledge that is not meant to be known, or if it is known, shared with others.
Well, clearly, as we've seen with this, by God, the zombie beholder of all things.
It says, is there anyone else? Is there any other further prayers anyone like conduct? Any further business you have here? If not, we can proceed to the Dwarven Enclave.
Anand's good.
So would like to try and go to that spell fella.
Okay, yep. So you do mention that, and then Larry says, "Well, we can always make a brief stop there." And you're turning to leave. As you're turning to leave, Aja, you pass by the statue of Rhea, and then you pass by it again, and then you pass by it again, and then you pass by it again. And you think at first it's just because you're drunk, but you realize that you're like maybe stuck in a loop, because as soon as you clear the statue, you start at the other end, and you're just walking in a line still, but you're going in a circle essentially. And you turn to look at the statue now, and you can see it's holding an hourglass in one hand. And you see that the statue is clearly stone, so it shouldn't be possible. But you see the grains of sand in the hourglass, which should be stone. You see them falling through the middle and accumulating on the bottom. And then once you notice that, you sort of break out of the loop and catch up to everyone else.
So is it still moving after I leave?
No, it stopped. As soon as you notice that, you break out of this loop and you look at the statue again. You don't see any stand falling. It's just immovable, implacable stone, a marble sculpture.
So when I meet up with the group again, I just kind of shake my head and go, maybe I need to get some new alcohol. Maybe there's something in this.
You have
Why?
advantage.
What happened?
Oh, you have advantage on initiative rolls.
I have initiative on.
No, you have unwittingly, maybe, forcibly been conscripted by the aspect Rhea to serve as her avatar on the prime material plane. As such, you have received a boon from her. You have advantage on initiative rolls.
From here on out?
Yes.
Would I have a sense of that or no?
To you, it just feels like your sense of time, your circadian rhythm, is sort of out of whack for a little bit. At times, it's like really slow, and at times it speeds up, and you're having trouble sort of accumulating to it.
You guys, I could have sworn that statue was moving, and then it was.
Yeah, maybe you're being spoken to.
Sometimes the aspects are strange like that.
Alright, you guys proceed out of the temple and make your way to the trade ward or level of Stormhaven, where you spy a familiar looking shop, or some of you familiar, others who haven't been there not so much, but it does advertise itself as a general curiosity and magic shop, place where you can buy various potions, spell scrolls, magical items, wands, all your sort of general low-level spellcasting needs.
So, Tara is at least partly a wizard.
I think
Correct.
she's full wizard.
Full wizard?
She's a blade singer,
Or-
which is like
So this is the-
it's this melee wizard, but you have to be full wizard to do it. You have to be elf too.
See, this is where I wish they were here. 'Cause, I was wanting to sell some of those scrolls. Can we? I mean, given the money that we have, can we say that she can copy what she wants in the time given to us?
Yeah, so you would just need the materials required to do so, which I believe is like 50 GP per spell level. I don't know. I haven't played a wizard.
Okay. So I'll kind of like let's say hello to the shopkeeper.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
It's like, what can I do for you?
Well, we've been tasked with a little bit of an emissary job, and I've come into some possession of some spells here. And I'll kind of lean in. Now, these may be of a bit more, let's call it a exclusive sort. That maybe the average individual may not be so discerning as to want these. And I'll deduce the scroll of here, the one of false life. The dang it, where is it? The scroll of ray of sickness. The animate dead, and the gentle repose. Any of these catch your eye?
I'm trying to find where it says for copying a spell into your spell book in D&D Beyond. It is failing me. 1 second.
Hold on. I actually think it's on my sheet.
Yeah, 2 hours per level of spell and 50 gold. Okay. So he would look at you and say, I see. Well, the due to the exclusive nature, as you put out the spells, I'd be willing to take them off your hands for a little bit below market rate, because as you know, it's very difficult to resell.
Oh, crap. These are very, very hard to come at. I don't need to tell you. You know, of course, that this is very exclusive. You would be essentially cornering the market.
He says,
And tell you what, I'll patronize your business as well. I believe you have a scroll of rope trick.
and he says, yes, I think I might have one around here somewhere.
Perhaps we can come to some sort of agreement. After all, you would be helping out some of the chosen. And
Well,
accept.
Gentle Repose is a necromancy spell. It's like a it's viewed favorably, as it were, not like Animate Dead or any of the other ones. What were the ones you said once again, just so I remember?
Scroll of False Life, Ray of Sickness, Gentle Repose, and Animate Dead.
Okay, so he will swap out Rope Trick, just a 1/1 exchange with Gentle Repose.
Okay.
Because as for the rest, he says I can. He says I gotta resell them, of course. And as you said, of course I've not. I haven't lived under a rock these past couple of days. I'm fully aware of who you are. And it's an honor for you to grace my store. But I have to think about resale value. They are exclusive. Most of them people generally won't be interested in. I can give you 80 gold for the first level spells. For he says, I suppose people could use Animate Dead to study. Study Undead. He says, I can give you 400 for that one.
Okay. Alright, so that would put us at, you said 80 gold per first level, so what, 60? 560 for the lot? Is that what you're saying?
He says, yeah. And he says, and I can give you a discount on the magical inks you would need to inscribe spells into your spellbook as well, up to a certain amount, of course.
Tell you what, do you happen to have, would you happen to have something called Flaming Sphere?
He would have. He has most wizard spells of first and second level.
Okay. How about you throw that one in there? And,
That'll be another 100 gold.
okay, so then 460 for the lot then?
Yeah, so it would be 360 then.
Alright,
Oh, no,
360.
no, you're right, 460. I can't do maths in my head. 460, you're right.
And then,
So you get Flaming
what would
Sphere, and you got Rope Trick currently.
okay, so then each of those would be baseline 50 for the materials. How much is it with the discount?
So it's 50 per spell, so you would need 150 gold worth of ink, magical ink, to inscribe it for both of those. It's 50 per spell level.
Okay.
And so he says, well, if you're looking to inscribe both of those, normally I'd run you about 150. But seeing as you have the services you provide for the city, and the business you provided me so far as well, I suppose I can drop down to 120.
Fair man. Fair man. I think you'll do well. I'll be sure to tell others about what you've done. All right. So that comes out to was it 460? Then 120 is 340. Net gain.
Sure. Math is hard. That's why we use Roll20.
Go ahead. All right. Well, you've done me a great service here. Have a great day and good luck with the war. Be vigilant.
Well, they probably won't conscript an old halfling like me into the army.
Hopefully not, but a man of your talents certainly can figure out a way to keep safe in this mess.
Well, yes, he says, thank you for your consideration, and I hope you do the same.
All right. I'll take my leave.
All right. You guys head back out. You proceed onward towards the dwarven enclave of the Ironhearts. So you're approaching at the far end of the trade ward. You begin to smell sort of the sort of, if one could smell heat, like, you can feel things like coal. You can smell coal burning and the like, to feel. Who knows how big of a fire if you can smell from this distance. And then you also can taste like a metallic sort of tang on the air as well. But you're approaching this squat sort of stone structure that has various that has stairs leading down along the sides. It sort of has all these vents. Some are grilled, but some have flaps that will open occasionally and let out a burst of smoke or flame. It appears you don't see any pedestrians around this area, obviously, but this section is sort of probably wisely kept separate from the rest of the trade ward. You don't see a lot of shoppers out and about in this part of the ward, and you're approaching this structure. You see two stout dwarven guards who sort of nod in approval as you approach. It seems that they are expecting you, and they wave you in with a cursory glance, and you open these doors that they're sort of squat, so everyone above 6 feet tall kind of has to hunch down a little bit to get in because they're built for dwarves. But you make your way in and you see a set of stairs leading down into the depths of this workshop. And heading down, the heat and the smell is getting more intense. Luckily, no one here is wearing, we know Alistair is wearing heavy armor, right?
Yep.
So you're just sweating.
Mid-beginning.
You're just sweating. You're like, oh man, you're like pulling the collar of your shirt, trying to fan yourself a little bit, but man, it is not good.
Give you no chill touch.
Alaric seems unfazed by it.
Anand actually does know chill touch.
Mind giving me a little, just on the brow there.
I mean, you're gonna take.
If you want the cold touch of the grave, then yes.
I mean, that's 1d8 necrotic damage, my dude.
Well, I suppose if you can't, then fine.
But
Yeah, I don't think it will make you colder.
But as you guys proceed further into this, or descend the stairs further into this workshop, you come you finally the floor levels out, and you see these just massive forges, and or protection from energy or something like that. But each of these forges are numerous dwarven craftsmen just hammering away at blades, shaping them, cooling them, polishing weapons and armor, that sort of thing. And then one of them has sort of these goggles on that are obscuring his eyes, but he's got a thick apron on, a long beard that's sort of tied back, so probably so it doesn't catch fire. You see his eyebrows are a little bit singed, and he's wearing a bandana as well, or a scarf over his hair. Everything's just sort of pulled back as much as it can out of the way of of the fire, and he's the one who sort of looks up and notices as you guys approach, but he seems to have been working, but he pulls out whatever he's working on to let it cool, or hands it to an assistant, another dwarf, and heads over to you. And as he comes over, he takes off the goggles and rests them on his sort of brow, and he says, the queen told me a group of people will be coming by today, but I didn't expect them to be led by young Alaric here." And then Alaric says, "It's a pleasure to see you too, more." And they share a sort of like a bro hug, as it were. Let me introduce my friends. We have Lady Aja Rastin, Lady Tara Dawnblade, Sir Alistair Winthrop Delfontaine. Sorry, your name cut off there. It's too long. Delfontaine, Lady Arnid Rignoro, and Sir Slizik Salazan. Also, welcome, Slizik. You joined us just in time to get some sweet mithril items.
Hell yeah.
Also, God talk.
Yes, gods did talk to you. So you, Slizik,
Oh.
I just had you autopilot. You prayed at the statue of at Narisi in
Sure.
the Temple of the Aspect No. 1. What you saw is a black coin dropped into a chest full of black coins. Once
Ooh.
it was like tumbling in on it in slow motion. Once it hit the sort of chest full of black coins, they all returned to a sort of golden luster, and then the chest closed and seemed to sink into the sea. And once it got deep enough to sort of that there was no more light coming from above, you sort of woke up from your vision.
Oh boy.
And you have, if you look at handouts, there's one under miscellaneous entitled Aspect Boons. You get to choose between sea legs or well grounded. As I was building the boon for you, I realized that a lot of your stuff of the boon I was going to give you are already incorporated into your class, so I didn't want to be redundant. So we have the option of sea legs, which is a swimming speed of 30 feet, as well as the ability to breathe underwater, or well grounded. You gain resistance to thunder damage, and you gain 1 cantrip of a watery, thundery nature. The list is in that handout that you can choose.
Oh boy. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so this dwarf comes by and shakes all your hands with both of his, and he says, "A pleasure to meet all of you. I've heard of your exploits and saw you at the ceremony, of course. I have nothing but thanks for everything you lot have done. I understand that you are to be made emissaries of Stormhaven, ambassadors of sorts, going to numerous cities. We can't let you venture forth without repping the fine dwarven craftsmanship of the Ironheart family. Now, can we?"
Ah, well,
Yes,
good to see. Now, what this craftsmanship look like?
Well, we deal in all sorts of things, all sorts of metals, but considering your position, we thought mithril, the hallmark ore of Stormhaven, would be most appropriate, and I'm sure you would all agree. Not quite magic, but in some cases almost as good. A sort of pinnacle of dwarven craftsmanship. If I do say so myself. We can, there are numerous demands placed on us from cities, armies, particularly we're gearing up for war, so we don't have. Unfortunately, we can't give you as much mithril as you want, but we can provide you either a arms or armor.
Excellent. Excited to try it out.
It can be anything, any sort of weapon or armor for the most part that your heart desires.
Now let me open up the old paint beauty.
I believe there's also a handout there for no. Yes, advanced specialized items, mithril, arms and armor are there, what each of them does. So you would just say what you want to this Amor, Ironheart, and he will get your order made. And you see that
Jesse really quiet, or is it just me?
I'm half eating right now, so my far. Oh, it cut out. My mic is far away from me right now because I'm half
Okay.
eating dinner.
yeah, that makes sense. So you see that these dwarves, oh, he's looking at you and waiting for your response, but he gives a glance to the doors behind them, and in response they all pull out these like chunks of mithril ore and begin fiercely heating it up in preparation for what you guys are about to say.
Oh boy. Just
Ah.
oh, go for it.
Oh, I would like a mithril chain shirt, I think.
He says, wish for a little bit of protection while concealing the fact that you're wearing armor. I like it. It will make nary a sound, but provide you the strength of chainmail.
Well,
It doesn't actually do that. He's just engaging in a little bit of hyperbole. But yeah.
I say, do you have a shield there? Make something a little bit like this. Maybe, perhaps, if you could actually...
So
Are you familiar with the ever-vigilant eye? You could put that on the sheet.
So I took out shields. Just out of character took out shields, but I did improve the armor. So essentially, you do get a +1 to AC now with the armor.
Okay, so shields are not there?
Yeah, shields are not there. Armor, what it does now, it weighs half as much. If you don't have medium armor proficiency, you don't require it to wear mithril medium armor. You can doff the armor in half the time. You add a +1 to the AC of normal equivalent armors, and heavy armor doesn't impose disadvantage on stealth rolls. And you can get up to splint for heavy armor, and up to whatever the second highest for medium armor is. I didn't want to add a bunch of like special like shieldy things. That's why I'm just trying to keep it simple.
Well, I suppose I'm good.
I'll
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure that would be an improvement for you, right? It essentially give you plate statistics for armor. If you got a splint, mithril splint.
Splint mail? You talking about that's
wait,
heavy armor though.
I thought you had a heavy armor as a cleric, life cleric. Right?
No,
No?
not as as a knowledge cleric. You only get medium armor.
Yeah, only certain domains get heavy armor for clerics.
Let me look it up. What are you wearing currently? Breastplate?
Yeah, I'm wearing a breastplate, which is medium.
Oh. So yeah, you can get breastplate. It would give you a +1 to AC. Yeah, mithril breastplate.
Okay. Is there a mithril half plate?
There is not. I wasn't gonna give you the best +1 of the best armor in the game right out the gate. You gotta wait a little bit.
Okay. Well, I suppose if you could mimic this here, what I'm wearing right now, only in mithril, I'd be of good service to you. If you could add one more, another pair of abs just down at the bottom, that would be.
Of course, we can. There can be vanity as well as function. We can also add a couple more notches in the leather for you as well.
Just make the whole thing abs. Just fucking
Just abs all the way up and down.
yeah, right up to your neck.
Just like.
Just don't put any nips on there, 'cause that's terrible.
Oh man, no, we're not doing Batman
Big
Forever.
swirling
Too
nip.
late.
Or Batman and Robin.
Too late.
No, he
They've got
has
the-
he has some artistic pride, and he will not engage in that.
I will just add them later on.
Yeah.
We'll find someone who will.
Use a Sharpie right in front of him.
I'll just
But
glue
yeah,
on.
he will.
some,
He will also like in the center add the eye of Magisa as well, like in between your pecs, as it were.
Not sort of around the.
Those aren't
nipple.
pecs. Those are just
Not-
two abs.
They're extra large
go.
abs.
But it's definitely in a place of prominence, and it's sort of gazing out into the world.
Creepy.
Very good.
He says, "Anything else I can craft for any of you? A weapon, perhaps, my bronze sir."
I'll give him the picture that I just drew in Discord. That is how I'd like my Warhammer to look. Not my Warhammer, my two-handed, whatever the fuck
The
it's called.
maul.
Maul, yeah.
So what is that?
It is. Imagine the cloud being far bigger, and that is basically the part that I hit them with. And it is connected to the
Okay.
haft by these two stylized
He
lightning.
Well, Mithril is very strong, but if you are going to engage in numerous bludgeoning acts with this maul, we might need to add more than just 2 thin strands of lightning connecting them together.
Oh, fine. Make them big strands of them.
Well, the number is the
Well-
important bit.
You know, Slizik, along with the theme of the lightning bolts, you could maybe get it in a flange style, and it'll be quite effective. But I'm not sure if a cloud on a stick is going to do much for you
It
in terms of
like my
practicality.
ass. Yeah, let's try that out. The flange style. Keep it lightning. I got
Alright.
a brand to uphold here.
So basically what he's going to do instead then with the flange style is the head of the maul is going to be comprised of lightning bolts. So if you've seen Lord of the Rings and that huge like mace that Sauron wields that has like
Sauron style mace.
that has like the blades at the end.
Oh,
There's
fuck
numerous
yeah.
blades surrounding it. Those are each going to be lightning bolts instead.
Oh, baby, yes.
All right.
Tara will reach into her backpack and start digging around. Looks like she gets to the bottom, and probably some like sandwich crumbs fall out or something. And she pulls out a little emblem of elven design, and it is the symbol of the Bladesinger School. And there's like the head of a roaring lion sort of carved into it, sort of like a Witcher pendant almost, kind of like that. And she'll hand it over to the dwarf and say, I believe you have experience with this sort of thing. You'd know best how to make it look fitting, wouldn't you?
Well, yes. It's like, yes, it is. Been quite some time since I have personally made a weapon for that school, but I'll make one that you can be proud of. So basically, he's going to make in the Elvish style, which is a thinner blade. It is going to be slightly curved, and the pommel of the sword will be that lion head.
Sweet.
The end bit at the grip. Any? Is that everyone?
So Aja's gonna go up to him and say, "I don't want a lot of hoopla. I just want my crossbow made into a mithril crossbow. I just want it to be lighter so I can carry more alcohol with me and carry the same weight. Got it?"
Should have just went for a whiskey flask, Aja.
Yeah, it's like, well, we can pair the mithril with a white wood that Stormhaven is also known for, and it will. I can guarantee you it will look quite stunning, as well as perform well in combat.
Can't say no to that.
Did you give her a few bolts as well?
Yeah, they will give you the necessary number of bolts. I'm not really dealing with ammo, because it's like I don't want to penalize you for being a ranged character. Be like, oh, make sure you buy ammo every town you're in. So let's just say yes, you have as many mithril bolts as you need to murder as many foes as you need throughout your travels. He says, you guys can wait. It will take quite. We are quite skilled here at the Ironheart Enclave, but it'll take quite a bit of time for us to custom make your orders. Around midday. Come back around midday. And we'll have everything done for you.
What might you have any use for this breastplate here? Perhaps interested in buying it off at a bit of a discount?
So yeah, he says, I can take a look at it. He looks at it, he says, it does appear to be quite well used. But I suppose that's evidence of its make, that its well-made nature, that its owner and wearer is still alive. So he says, I can take it off your hands for 250 gold pieces.
Well, it'll be a bit of a loss, but I suppose I could part with it. Very well.
Yeah.
And I'll hand it over at the wouldn't want to be without armor for any amount of time. Understand? I'll be back and give you the armor there.
All right. So, Alaric, can I speak to you for a bit? He says, throwaway dwarf name. Show them around the forge a little bit while they wait. Offer them refreshments, and take them to a place where they can relax. And this dwarf acknowledges the family head and makes to do that. As you are leaving, Alaric and Amor are talking in Dwarvish, but they're also speaking very quietly amongst themselves. If you would like to listen in, you would need to do a perception roll, as well as be able to speak Dwarvish.
Not me.
Let me.
He says, Alaric, I need to speak with you for a moment.
I don't know Dwarvish.
All right, Aja.
No one? Who are you?
Aja, you hear this? He says, Amor and Alaric are conversing between each other. They say, just, troubling times, Alaric, from what I've heard about you and your sister. Troubling times indeed, he says. And Alaric responds, he says, yes, it makes me wonder if we need the Ancients' help. And then he says, you're not talking about Nurnavir, are you? Sorry, I should do this in voice. You're not talking about Nurnavir, are you? And he says, who else but he? And then Amor responds, the trek will be long and treacherous, and while you are quite skilled, it is doubtful you can accomplish it alone. And then to that, Alaric responds, yes, it was something I was planning on bringing up. to the others in time. And then you're sort of too far away to get the rest.
Oh boy. And who heard that, sorry?
Aja is the only one that heard it. As far
Okay.
as the things they talked about, you're not quite sure. It's like Stormhaven-y stuff. The wisdom of the ancients, Aja. We don't know what that is, really. You don't recognize the name Nurnavir either.
So I'm gonna message the group and ask, does anyone know who Nurnavir is?
Do we?
Slizik, you know who this... You don't know who that is, but you recognize the name.
Ah, shit.
That's a dragon name.
Ah, shit again. That's a big shit. That's.
You don't.
Sorry,
You don't recognize the name, but it is a draconic word. It makes sense to you. It is something you would name a dragon, or a dragon would call itself.
That sounds like a dragon name to me, but I could be wrong. That's all I know, though. Anyone else?
Would I have
Yeah,
any
is
idea
that-
about the name?
You can make a history check.
23.
All right. Onid. You're like, dragons, man. They're big and they breathe fire.
Oh boy.
But, Alistair, you have read about dragons in the Old War, and one of the various books that you've read and that you remember reading, it talked about all dragons were originally created by Eris, the Betrayer, for her battle against Arya. But being of a sort of higher, possessing a higher intellect and sentience, a lot of them broke off from Eris's army and joined Arya's instead. The most notable being metallic dragons, of which you remember reading about one in particular, a silver dragon known as Nurnavir, who was quite the boon to the forces of Arya during the war. And you don't know what happened to him afterward, but after the war. But if he is still alive, you think at this point in his life he would be considered an ancient silver dragon.
Oh, I believe I've heard of this one. Yeah. So, of these dragons that were created, he seemed to be of the lot that sort of went turncoat. And given that he's rather old, the nature of dragons, that makes him extremely powerful.
Aye. And sorry. What's up?
The fact that this is even an option tells me a lot more about this place than I would have ever suspected.
I'm sorry, they were saying they want to possibly ask for the help of this thing? Was that what Aja heard?
Yeah.
If we need the help of dragons, this is quite a problem. More than we understand.
Well, sounds like this is the plan. Jeez. I don't want to go talk to one of those things.
Yeah?
You are one of those things, kind of.
Well,
Kinda. It's a whole thing.
it's actually rather interesting. They're not quite exactly. Okay, well, it's not going to be your receptive students.
That's me, the receptive student.
Also, here you are. Everyone, put it in the Discord. I think everyone gets 68 gold from the scrolls.
Sweet.
And
I'll have to do that in a bit.
Tara, you can also mark off, like, if there's any of those scrolls that you wanted to add to your spell list, you can go ahead and like mark those off. Like, I okayed it with Nate beforehand.
You would just need the
Nope.
materials to do so, which I think you bought some already.
Tara?
Tara BRB'd again.
God damn it.
Okay.
God damn it.
So you guys are that's all you get though, Aja, and you guys, and as you're conversing, you are like via message, you are led to you're sort of on the tour of the forges, as you were. It's only a brief tour because the dwarf does notice that you, in particular, Alistair, are getting very short of breath, and offers to take you to a room where you can rest and be served refreshments, beverages while you wait.
Bit of a tour de forge.
The dwarf just shakes his head as if he's heard that a number of times and is not amused.
Whoa.
Someone's roboting a little bit.
Jesse.
It's almost certain.
Yeah, it is Jesse. You're roboting a little bit.
Of course. How about now?
You're good now. So you were led to a small room. As you're underground, there's no really windows here, unfortunately. But strangely enough, this room does not smell like smoke or heated metal or anything, and in fact, it's actually quite cool and quite pleasant. Another dwarf comes in from an adjoining room and brings you out beverages. Being dwarves, most of them, if not all of the drinks, do contain varying degrees of alcohol. But there's also like sweetbreads and cheeses and that sort of thing. Sort of like many preserved meats and sausages and whatnot as well.
Just making like stackers.
Yeah. Essentially, you can, but it's all like appetizer-y food. It's not really meant to completely sate your hunger, but there is quite a number of it there. Dwarven hospitality is legendary. So the food, the pieces of food are small, but the amount of it is large.
I get some of that good orange and white cheese stuff in me.
Fucking dwarves are like they like tapas, apparently.
I mean, this is only the appetizer stuff. They don't. This isn't a meal for you.
Okay. Like the roast, man. We later.
Yeah. So you guys partake. Talk amongst yourselves. You're getting close to that. Sort of midday mark. You guys you're currently resting in a sort of relaxation room, what have you. Sort of a room off to the side from the main forge. Unlike the rest of the building you've been so far, this is quite cool. There's no really scent of the forge in here. You have been presented with numerous sort of appetizers as well as alcoholic beverages, and you're sort of waiting for midday to arrive. In fact, it is quite close when a lyric comes into the room. First off, he asks how you're all doing. Did you enjoy the tour of the forge?
Yes, it looked very nice. Very well maintained.
Well, very interesting.
I got a new smusher.
He smiles. He does a half smile. He said, He says, "Well, hopefully it will be of some use to you in your future endeavors." And then he pauses for a second and says, "Speaking of which,
Oh boy.
have any of you ever been to the Crown of the World?"
Don't believe so.
Not that I can recall.
No, but I was told that we would find our purpose there.
He thinks for a bit. He says, "Well, I guess that's perfect if you're heading up there anyway." You see,
It's on the way.
he's like he sort of has to phrase it. So, Stormhaven has had always this sort of protector, benefactor, that has sort of watched out for the city since the Old War. If there's a particularly troubling or a difficult choice that needs to be made, we ask this individual for counsel. This individual is also very old, so he usually hibernates in seclusion until we need to call upon his services. He can be found very near the peak of the Crown of the World. Unfortunately, the journey there is quite perilous, as well as the sort of obstacles in the way to meet this vulnerable person, who also happens to be an ancient silver dragon.
There.
Anyway, I was wondering if you would like to travel with me to the Crown of the World
Oh man.
and assist
Would-
me in waking this individual up.
Would this ancient protector, who happens to be a silver dragon, also have a booming, masculine, telepathic voice?
He has a telepathic voice, but I wouldn't describe it as booming. More like icy cold. It is deep, but
Interesting.
it's sort of like you just get chills when you hear it.
Well, that was not quite my experience, but in praying to Solara, that is the voice that I heard.
He says, there is a small shrine, really barely a pavilion, at the top of the Crown of the World, where the sun's first rays always reach.
Then I think that may be where we're meant to go.
He says Nernavir, that's the dragon's name, sort of residence is below that, set into the mountain.
You know how to get there?
I have not made the journey myself, but I have read the books on how to get there. We will need to obtain warmer clothing before we head out, unless if you are fond of your extremities, fingers and toes, and would like to keep them, we do need to procure that. Unfortunately, I can't offer you monetary reward for this task, but during his lifetime, Nernavir has amassed quite quite a lot of wealth, as well as items of a magical nature. And if he takes a liking to you, he may provide you with a few.
I sure hope so.
Well, far be it from me to ignore the commands of the aspects or those speaking for them by proxy.
Yeah, see, to that, Alaric, so that is quite strange. Most aspects, when they deign to speak to us in a physical sense, or one that we can understand verbally, rather than showing us images or visions, it is generally, as far as people who've experienced such things have reported, is generally in a feminine tone. That feminine tone can range based on the aspect speaking, but it is always a feminine tone, very clearly a feminine tone. So whoever spoke to you, I don't believe was an aspect itself.
Well, I'm a little bit loath to ignore the instructions of dragons.
But you're sort of finishing up this conversation. As far as I can tell, I'm reading the room. You guys are willing to go to the crown of the world with Alaric.
Oh, I
Okay, just making sure, because I don't think anyone has explicitly said that.
have too much cheese in my mouth.
I think it's kind of funny. Okay, but as we're sort of finishing up this conversation, Amor comes back and says, "Oh, good, you're all here. We just finished up. Unfortunately, I can't carry them all myself, so we can present them to you in the forge proper."
Aye, let's do it.
Also, do you have any training dummy, as it were?
Yes, we might have some in a yard, but that'll be up in the top side, not down here.
Fair enough. What have you got? What is this? What have you come up?
So basically, you're presented with these mithril arms and armor. They're exactly as either you described to him or he described to you that they would make. And they are all of this gleaming silver that you would recognize quite instantly as mithril, due to the amount of it you've just seen in the city. If a item needs wood to function like Aja's crossbow, it is of a white wood. The leather for like straps of armor and whatnot is of it's not a dark color, it's of a lighter shade, but it's still light brown, as it were. I think other than that, it matches what you guys have said pretty much to the T.
Snack.
Someone speaking, I think Jesse. You're roboting a little bit. Okay. And so, Alaric seems satisfied with the results and nodding, and based on your expressions, he sees you, as far as I can tell, no one has said differently, are satisfied as well. He says, "These are perfect, Amor. Thank you for your help." And he says, "Aye, anything for the heroes of Stormhaven, huh?"
Very good, John. As promised, here's the the previous iteration.
Of course.
I'll take off the.
And a dwarf that is not a Moor comes in and accepts it from you, as well as gives you the agreed upon amount. He says, "Thank you for your business." And he says, "All right, enough gawking. Back to work. We've got an army to supply." And the dwarves let out a sort of a battle cry yell, and get back to their usual work, which is mainly steel. But yeah, they're working away, and Lyric says, "Well, I think it's time we've had our leave." And he leads you out of the enclave, once again going up the stairs, getting out of that oppressive heat and into the cool air of Stormhaven. And you pass the dwarven guards who once again nod. You guys, there is a sort of a yard out here, further away, sort of still in the cordon off section of the dwarven enclave, but away from all of the vents that let out, gouts of flame and smoke. Probably so it doesn't catch fire. But you do see some training dummies set up there as well. There are some benches as well, a few shrubs and whatnot. Looks to be sort of a parky, like a bit of green space, along with a practical use of the training ground, maybe to test out your new weapons, to get accustomed to them.
Okay. So we're in the training ground right now?
Yes.
I squish the nearest mannequin and/or person that's looking for a fight.
All right. Just roll to hit. That's all
I
you'll need.
cannot at the moment. I am having internet issues. I'm on my phone right now.
Okay. I can roll for you. It's a D20.
Plus a lot.
Yeah,
It's
plus.
probably gonna.
Okay, so you got plus. Your normal one is +7. With mithril is +8.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you got 23 to hit.
Huzzah!
You just knock. These are like wooden dummies.
Squish.
Yeah, you just cleave it in twain, even though you're using a bludgeoning item. Just the
Cool.
force of it shatters it in two. Just splinters essentially. Yeah, it seems you have taken quickly to this new weapon of yours.
Not bad. Is there a bush I can hide my old maul in?
I mean, yeah, you can always sell it.
That's a whole thing. I'm just gonna kind of look around and see if anyone sees me littering.
Yeah, you can always leave
it.
it unattended somewhere, and some dwarf will pick it up and
Yeah.
probably melt it down and craft it into something else.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so you leave behind your maul and instead are making full use of this new one. The rest of you are sort of practicing with your items. When you see a sort of page or a courier from the palace, you would assume due to the amount of finery and sort of things he's wearing, come running up, but he's gasping for air. He's carrying he's just laden with heavy cloaks and furs and clothing, and he says, sort of out of breath, to her, I got your message, my lord. Here are the requested items."
You are the most landlubbering looking landlubber I've ever seen.
And he says, "Thank you." So there's no listen what Alaric says. Alaric does not acknowledge your comment, but to the page, he says thank you, and he takes the items
Aw.
and he gives you all a look and does a little bow to you and begins hurrying back to the castle. And he says, "I think I got most of your sizes right, but I mean they're cloaks, so it's okay if they're a little bigger than usual."
Hmm.
But yeah, so they're like it's like heavy fur lined coats essentially, and you're getting your multiple layers on essentially. And
God, Slizik looks badass right now.
yeah,
Actually, everyone looks badass in fur.
and so you're getting prepped for the cold, even colder weather in the Dragon Teeth Mountains, specifically around the Crown of the World as well. And you guys sort of set off, unless there's anything else anyone wants to do.
Not me.
Okay.
Nope, Anna's just getting dressed, and it's much easier to hide this mithril chain under her clothes
Oh yeah.
than that studded leather. So she's very.
What did Tara get?
She got a sword, I believe.
Fancy longsword.
Ooh.
But I'm going to use the restroom. Like I'll just say, you guys are on your way to Dragon Teeth Mountains, up to the Crown of the World, and we're going to montage a little bit. I'm going to use the restroom real quick. Let's take a short 5-minute break, and we'll meet back to discover new things.
Oh boy. All right, I'll be right back as well.
Alright, I'm back.
Question.
Yeah.
Would Mage Hand be able to, like, pull a potion out of somebody's pocket, pour it in the mouth?
As an action, yes.
Okay. So,
Let me make sure.
casting.
Technically, I think with Mage Hand you can pick up anything that weighs less than 10 pounds.
Manipulate objects, open door, put away, get an item, open, pour out of a hunt, can't attack, activate my.
Yeah, manipulate. I would say a manipulate an object is a potion.
Okay.
I'll get him back.
Welcome back.
Thanks, sir.
So, Aja, I don't know if you're back. No.